Honorable, by describing the events in Gaza in absolute terms and aligning the country explicitly with one side, the government risks compromising the delicate balance that has long safeguarded Ghana's credibility. And our tradition has been to call for peace, dialogue, and adherence to international law without interventions that may prejudice our ability to play a mediating role. That's what to quote the ranking member on foreign affairs in Parliament, that's what he says.
The ranking member got it totally wrong.
Why?
The United Nations Special Report says that what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. And Ghana has already re-echoed what the world body had said. We are living in a rule-based world, that we have come to categorize certain crimes, certain activities as crimes against humanity. And we've laid down the rules of engagement in war. We have said that in war, in a war situation, you can't use starvation as an instrument of war. In a war situation, you can't target civilians. In a war situation, you can't bomb hospitals or schools. These are rules. They are rule-based, system. It's a rule-based system that we have put in place, and we've called it the laws of war. So when you flout these laws with impunity, then your actions should be condemned. To keep quiet in a situation like that is to be complicit in what Israel is doing. Yes, no one is questioning the two-state. No one says that Ghana is questioning the two-state solution to the problem in the Middle East, or Ghana is aligning to the two-state solution. Ghana aligned to that solution long ago because of our inherent history. We led the fight in liberating Africa from colonial rule. We know what human dignity is. That is why it has found expression in our constitution, which says that human dignity is inviolable. Because we know. So you cannot treat a human being in a manner that derogates from his essential character as a person. You can't. And Ghana, it would have been remiss on the part of Ghana not to stand up against egregious violations of the fundamental rights of people living in Gaza. This conflict started from the Balfour Declaration in 1917, aggravated during the Second World War, when Israel and the Jews underwent severe persecution in Europe and extermination. Now, the world condemned that act. The Israelis made a case that it was because they were scattered around the world. That was why they were susceptible to persecution. The world powers then thought that it was important to settle Israel at a determined place so that they could protect them. Many considerations came, including the resettling of Jews in Uganda. But finally, they relied on the Old Testament towns of Samaria and Judea, which were initially inhabited by the early Jews, as a possible place to settle them. When they went to settle the Jews in Israel, the population there was 75% Christians and Arabs. But they settled them. And then they carved out a place for them. Now, what moral right will Israel have to say that after having settled in Israel, we do not want any country, and particularly Palestine, to exist with us? Because you were not there. The world rose up to its responsibility of protecting Israel. settled Israel and made sure that they recognize the state of Israel.
Right.
Now, what is happening in Israel? Today, as we speak, women and children are those who are bearing the brunt of the assault on Israel, on Palestine. Are women and children also combatants in war? Today, as we speak, ground troops are dislodging the people who were occupying that narrow strip called Gaza. People now do not even feel safe in moving. Ramallah and Gaza are now theaters of war. I mean, we need as a people to condemn this level of atrocities.
So, Inusah, what essentially you're saying is that the facts are clear that Israel is suppressing and oppressing the people of Palestine. And this
Not
is not
suppression.
something...
Suppression could mean, I mean, because we have already been told that
Yes.
Palestine was an open prison.
Yes, I want to be a
That
bit well, I just wanted to be diplomatic.
Diplomatic, okay,
yes,
that's
because
okay.
we're talking diplomatic. We're having a diplomatic conversation here. But the point you're saying is that Israel is in the wrong. And so Ghana does absolutely no wrong by taking sides and saying that you're wrong. Stop it.
Ghana is following what the UN
Okay. So
has
it's
said.
consistent with what the UN is
UN
saying.
has said.
Okay.
Ghana did not use the word genocide until the UN special report
Right.
said that what was happening in Israel was genocide.
Okay. So then, Paul,
I think
does
everything
that change your position?
No, not quite. But everything he said is correct. Yeah. But the Honorable Minister, I think you left a big part of the conversation out, the historical aspect of it. Yeah. Yeah. When you settled in, Israel came in 1948 and they settled amongst the people. And then what happened there after Moro? They settled amongst the people. There was peace. There was no problem. And then the famous Six-Day War came up. So then one day the territories around Israel, Jordan and co., rose up against this small population that had been settled there by the United Nations. They rose up against them, and then they defended themselves. And since then, there's been several wars going on in that territory, and the trust is completely broken. These are the underpinnings of the crimes that are happening in Gaza today, where children are being killed, it's terrible, and women are being killed, and all of that. This is the historical context of this conflict. It is a major geopolitical and ideological conflict. It started with the occupied territories, Palestine, Lebanon, and all of these things, attacking Israel and wanting to exterminate them from that territory. Israel defended itself and was successful in defending itself because, of course, it had allies, United States and United Kingdom, and wars have gone on since the 70s. The UN peacekeeping forces have been there. I think they are still there, UNIFIL, where General Eskin and co were doing well for Ghana. So that's the foundation of the conflict. Trust is broken. Within the context of the broken trust, it's then an ideological situation. America will always stand one way, and this one will always stand the other way. Okay. So even the descriptions that the United Nations gives it, Israel will contend it as being influenced by ideology. Because even though it's the United Nations, they say there's genocide, and then Security Council says ceasefire, and America says, no, I will veto that. If it goes the other way against Gaza, Russia is on the Security Council, they may veto that. Okay. So in that kind of situation, it is always useful for a country like Ghana to remain in the position that we have been in, so that we do not run the risk of being ideologically colored. As for what is happening in Israel, in terms of people being killed, that it is terrible, it's terrible. But the expressions of what it is, their technical meanings within the context of international law. And it's almost as if you're accusing somebody of some war crimes here and there. And the question is the evidence and all of that. Yes, we see it on television. People are being killed. And the United Nations can say what it says. Israel will contend with them in the United Nations halls in New York and Geneva. But as for us, as an African country, we should have continued in the way that we were. Professor Mills was president of Ghana. There was something happening in Cote d'Ivoire just next door. And it had to do with the democracy of Cote d'Ivoire, elections and all of those things that have been very, very important to all the Millennium Development Agenda. But here he was suggesting to Ghanaians that, look, we can always solve the Ivory Coast problem one way. We're not going to make any public statement against Laurent Gbagbo. That has always been the posturing of the Ghanaian government. So this one is quite different.
But Paul, Ghana is not playing a lesser role. South Africa was the first country in Africa to take what is happening in Israel to the World Court,
Okay.
to The Hague, and argued vociferously that what was happening in Israel was genocide. And the court upheld their position. South Africa was the first.
So the court ruling that what is happening in
in
Israel is
genocide.
genocide.
And that is why Netanyahu faces a threat of a war criminal. You understand?
This will not be the first time
So
Netanyahu is
what we are saying is that, and you talk about ideology,
Yes.
just 2 days ago, Britain said they were recognizing the state of Palestine.
Yeah,
Britain
that's very ideological.
no, Britain was at the forefront of establishing it.
No, but that's you are making my point because the government in Britain is a Labour government, and if you look at the history of Labour governments in Britain, they have always been in the middle. Yeah,
governing the architecture of government in Europe, I mean in Britain, is liberal democracy. It's a liberal democracy.
yes, but the people in power are left Labour.
No,
Labour
but
left.
they're
They're in
liberal
power.
democracy. They're liberal democracy.
Yeah, you can say so.
So they respect rights of people and all those things. So
Yeah.
so yes, within the liberal framework.
No, recognizing Palestine is
Within
what the
the
point you're
liberal
making.
framework,
Yeah.
they think that this is the way the government should be governed. Conservatism should not be the way to go. Okay, it's labor.
Based on the last election.
Yes, based on the last election.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that is the choice within a liberal system of government.
I agree with you. I have no problems with that. I'm saying that your reference to Britain as if Britain has changed its position might not be correct because the government in Britain today is left-wing government and they are going to be siding with the Palestinians one way or the other. Because it's an ideological battle. So when the Democrats are in power in America, you get something similar.
When you argue this way, then you bring in many questions. You open the bag. Now, in the American system, the governments have not always been the same.
No, that's what I'm saying. When
But
the Democrats are in power, Republicans are not Democrats.
And Democrats are not Republicans.
Yeah, when Democrats are in power, it's better. It's always better for the Palestinian situation.
Right. Yeah, but they
you saw the efforts that Bill Clinton made with Yasser Arafat. For instance, Yasser Arafat under Bill Clinton could fly into America, but under Donald Trump, the people in Abbas cannot fly
Mahmoud
into America.
Abbas has been denied visa because.
But that's what I'm saying. When the Democrats in power, when the Democrats are in power, it's very likely that they will not be denied visa.
But Trump is 48th or so president of the United States. Many presidents have come before him.
Yes, correct.
And none has ever refused the Mahmoud Abbas or the Palestinians from flying into the America to attend the UN General Assembly. This is the first time.
I don't think it's the first time. I think
this is the first time.
George
This is
Bush.
actually the first time. That's why it attracted condemnation at the United Nations.
No, this is because the condemnation, I think, was because it sounded personal. Because he had personally criticized the President of the United States, he took a personal decision. I think that's where the condemnation is. But anyway, it's still an ideological conversation. So the point is that should Ghana step in such an ideological conversation?
When we have a platform like this, because when the Holocaust occurred, we said it was the problem of the Jews. Many of them were exterminated. When Rwanda occurred, we said it was a problem of Africa.
Right.
We did not condemn, and many people were killed. When Srebrenica occurred, we said it was a problem of that place. Said it's ideological. Just like in Rwanda, we said ideological, and people were being killed like cockroaches. Now, when people violate the laws of nature, when people undermine our very foundation as humans, we need to condemn.
That has been condemned.
Because there is always a better way. That is why UN says that the UN Charter talks about pacific resolution of disputes.
No, that has been condemned by all. Everyone, even including pro-Israelis, have condemned the extent of killings going on in Gaza. But there's a whole geopolitical conversation about what a country should do. That's where it looks like our two political parties are divided.
He takes on the General Assembly for not condemning what's happening in Gaza. And he says that they've been playing hide and seek and playing with
President
words.
Mahama.
Yes. So let me read that portion. He says that to demonstrate Africa's fast-growing global influence, President Mahama did not shy away from addressing ongoing global conflict. On the situation in Gaza, he departed from what he called the General Assembly's habit of playing hide and seek with language. It doesn't matter what you call it. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, well, then it must be a duck. The crimes in Gaza must stop, he stated, advocating a two-state solution as a reprieve for innocent Palestinians. Of course, he also drew attention to what's happening in Sudan and so on. So quite clearly, he's taking on and criticizing the General Assembly for not speaking loudly enough about what's happening in Gaza. Could it be also because of these ideological, how do you call it, differences that we see, and that's why the General Assembly has been a bit diplomatic about what's happening in Gaza?
It can only be that.
The General Assembly is a talking shop. It's a talking shop.
Okay.
Yeah, but they still should have said something
but
about
they do nothing. We go and vent our frustrations and aspirations.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what we do at the General Assembly. The real power lies with the permanent Security Council.
You suggested that the president should have directed his criticism to the Security Council?
No, I'm saying that. So what the president is actually saying is that for a very long time, the General Assembly, the members of the General Assembly, the countries, were not forthcoming with condemnation of atrocities in countries. And that's why he was condemning, that's why he was lamenting and venting his frustration. But you could see that in this General Assembly, it's different. Many countries have actually taken it to the General Assembly and said, look, we need to stand up, we need to be united against atrocities happening all over the world.
Okay.